Good afternoon, everybody. I welcome you all to this class of General Study Paper 1 related to Indian society. Generally, it is part of your UPSC Civil Service General Study syllabus, and approximately 50 to 80 marks are asked from this section. So, in this context, I would discuss in detail what Indian society is all about, what problem right now Indian society is experiencing. But before making a detailed discussion regarding Indian society and the challenges that our country is experiencing right now, first I want to ask you a question. Why you people need to know about Indian society, and what are the challenges that Indian society is right now facing? First of all, why our civil servants, you are the future civil servants of the country, they want to know about Indian society? The answer is that a civil servant has to work in country, he or she wants to make all developmental programs and projects of the government successful. Therefore, unless and until he or she knows about the problems, obviously he or she won't be able to think about the solution that is needed for our country. And before starting this topic related to Indian society, first I want to show you the syllabus. What are the topics prescribed in UPSC syllabus related to Indian society? So, this is the broad outline of the syllabus. Salient features of Indian society, diversity of India, role of women and women's organization, all these are included in your syllabus. You can take the snapshot of it as for future use. Okay. So, before introducing Indian society and its problem, first I want to tell you something related to Indian society. You know, India is having one of the oldest civilization on the surface of the earth. India is big in size and great in synthesis. It's the cradle of human civilization, the birthplace of human speeches, the mother of history, the grandmother of tradition, and the great grandmother of legend. This is the greatness of our glorified India. And in future, you would become civil servants of Indian nation. So, it is your responsibility to uphold the dignified position of India all over the world. And as I told you that in General Study Paper 1, every year 50 to 80 marks are asked from Indian society. So, before making a detailed discussion related to Indian society, first I want to show you the questions that have been asked over the last 5 years in IS examination or UPSC civil service examination in context of GS paper 1. So, what are the questions that have been asked from this paper? Just I am demonstrating you the questions. Just you see, this is previous year's question 2023. You see, some questions have been asked and you are expected to write the answer within 150 words, and some other questions you are expected to write the answer in 250 words. And two types of questions are asked in IS exam. Some questions are 10 markers questions, some are 15 markers question. Then you can take snapshot of it. These are the previous year's questions 2023. Then come to the next year, the previous year it means that is 2022. Yeah, this is the 2022 questions. You can take also snapshot of it. Then this is 2021 questions. This is 2020 This is 2019. First I am showing you the questions so that you would get a clear cut idea related to how questions are asked in UPSC Civil Service Examination from the topic that I am planning to teach you today. Today I will be starting your syllabus. So, today I would be discussing one of the most important topic related to Indian society or related to social issue, that is effect of globalization on Indian society. Effect of globalization on Indian society. Before making a detailed discussion about globalization, I want to tell you the fact that this topic globalization is a common topic in sociology optional paper, in general study paper 1, in English essay, as well as every year frequently questions are asked in Viva Voce, that is the interview board related to globalization. So, let us come to that topic, that is globalization. You see, what is the meaning of globalization? Just I would be making a derivation. Globalize plus ation is called globalization. Globalize plus ation is called globalization. Globalize means to spread an idea, an element, an item into different parts of the world. I am repeating it again. Globalize means to spread an idea, an information, an item into different parts of the world. Ation means change. Therefore, literally by globalization we mean it is a process of change by which an idea, an information, a technology or some capital or some people, they are freely moving in different parts of the world. Therefore, in formal language I can say globalization refers to a process of change by which ideas, information, capital, commodities and technologies are spreading into different parts of the world. This is the etymological meaning of globalization. Etymological meaning, letter wise it is the meaning of globalization. But this is a very narrow meaning. It has also a broader meaning that I will discuss. You see, every year question is asked in UPSC Civil Service Viva Voce board, what is globalization? Do you think that globalization is really helping the poor people in India? I want to tell you that this question can be answered in two different ways. There is one candidate who said that, sir, globalization or madam, globalization is an economic process of change by which a country's domestic economy is merging with international economy. No doubt, answer is correct. But the limitation of this answer is that the candidate is trying to explain globalization only in terms of economic process of change, because he or she is confining globalization to economic spheres of activities. But there is a second candidate. He was also asked or she was also asked the same question by the board. What is globalization? But she answered in a different way. He or she says, globalization is a process of socio-economic and cultural change by which the social boundaries among the different nations of the world are getting removed, getting eroded, and slowly and steadily the whole world is getting converted into a single homogeneous means similar entity. Two candidates were asked the same question in interview board, viva voce board related to the topic, that is globalization. First candidate said, it is a process of economic change by which a country's domestic economy is merging with international economy. On the other hand, second candidate told, it is a process of socio-economic and cultural change by which the social boundaries, the cultural boundaries among the different nations of the world are getting eroded, and slowly and steadily the whole world is getting converted into a single similar entity. Just you think which answer is better answer, first answer or second answer? Second answer. So, obviously the candidate who is answering in the second way, he or she would score better mark compared to the first candidate. That is the reason I usually used to say, successful people are the people having uncommon approach in matter of writing the answer or answering the question. There is a popular saying that winners do not do different things, rather they do the things differently. And while the second candidate answered the question in the viva voce board, obviously he or she answered by adopting a difference in her or in his approach. This is the difference. So, always try to adopt certain difference in your perspective or in your way of answering question, whether it is written stage of examination or it is the interview stage of the examination. And in the entire process of teaching you Indian society related to each and every topics that has been prescribed in your UPSC general study paper 1 syllabus, I will tell you the fact how to make your approach outstanding compared to the common students, because this is a competitive examination. In competitive examination, you are expected not only to write or speak the correct answer, but also you are expected to write or speak the better than the best answer. Means you have to write or speak outstanding answer, so that you would be at a advantageous position compared to your competitors. Getting my point? So, in this way I told you that the candidate who is answering in second way, definitely he or she would be able to score better mark compared to the first one. And before making a detailed discussion related to the effect or impact of globalization on Indian society, I want to tell you the fact that the approach in social issues is different from the approach of writing answer related to physics, related to chemistry, related to mathematics. Why? Because in case of physics, chemistry or mathematics, perspective is not required. For example, I am telling you, if anybody asks you a question, 5 multiplied by 3 is how much? Answer is one and same, that is 15. If somebody says it is 14, he is wrong. If somebody says it is not 15, he is also wrong. So, in case of physical science, answer is one and same, it is invariable, it does not vary from candidate to candidate. But in matter of writing answer of social issues related to Indian society, you need to adopt a perspective, because I want to tell you, in society large number of people are living, and people have different views related to different problems of society. So, therefore, you have to adopt a perspective for answering the question in social issues, particularly related to Indian society. And right now I am telling you what is perspective and how perspective is necessary in matter of writing answer related to social issues. perspective has been derived from the root word that is perceive. Perceive. Perspective has been derived from the root word that is perceive. What is perceive? Perceive means to view, to observe, or to look at. To view, to observe, or to look at. That is perceive. Therefore, perspective means it's a specific way of, write it down, it is a specific way of, looking at different events of society. Repeating it again, perspective is a specific way of looking at different events of society. Getting my point? Okay. I told you also earlier, all people don't look at the same event in the same age. I am citing an example. Suppose, in today's India, marital institution is experiencing instability, means rate of divorce is growing in our country. If you ask somebody why the rate of divorce is growing, then that person told you, sir or madam, first of all, the impact of religion on the life of the people, on the thought process of people in modern India is reducing, declining. As the impact of religion upon the people is declining, that's the reason the rate of divorce is growing. Is correct? Yes or no? Because in traditional India, people were thinking that marriages are made in heaven, though it was taking place on the surface of the earth. But today, people's thought process became liberal. They started thinking that marriage is a process of adjustment. As there are two marital partners not having proper adaptability with each other, proper compatibility with each other, they are fighting n number of times every day under the same roof. Then what is the need of continuing their relationship? They take the decision to be separated. But earlier they were thinking marriages are made in heaven and the couples are born as husband and wife, not only for one life but at least for 7 lives. You can divorce your partner in this life, again in next life she would come or he would come as your partner. This type of thought was dominating their thinking in traditional India. But in modern India, what happened? Their thought process became liberal. Impact of religion started declining. That's the reason the rate of divorce is growing. One candidate answered it. He's correct. But you asked the same question to second candidate. Why the rate of divorce is growing in modern India? That person told you, sir or madam, in today's India, scope of employment for women has been increased. And economically the women are becoming independent. In traditional India, women were having very less possibility of economic independence. But in modern India, economic independence of women have been substantially grown. That's the reason their economic dependence upon male members, their marital partner, has been declined. And whenever the women feel that injustice of a big magnitude is done against them, as they are not economically dependent upon their marital partner, obviously they are also raising their voice of dissent. It is leading towards frequent fight at home, and one day it is getting terminated in form of divorce. Second candidate explained increasing rate of divorce, but in terms of economic independence of women. Is he correct or not? He is also equally correct. But you see, two candidates answered the same question in two different ways. This is called perspective. For the purpose of writing answer related to social issues, related to Indian society, you can adopt a perspective. Perspective constitutes the specific way of analyzing, evaluating, assessing different events of society. Got my point properly? And obviously, in context of writing the answer related to social issues of Indian society, you are expected to adopt perspective in your writing approach. And just to make you understand perspective in a better way, I want to tell you a story, and listening this story you would get a crystal clear idea related to perspective. What is that? You see, there were two young men coming from two opposite directions. Both of them were absent-minded, coming from two opposite directions, got dashed with each other, got collided with each other. They are very young and energetic, got collapsed, got collided, dashed on the street, and right now they started fighting on the street. First young man told, "Why are you moving on the street without looking at the street?" Second young man also put the same question, "If I was not able to look at the street, what you were doing? Why you were not looking at the street? Had you looked at the street, you could not have been collided with me." In this way, they started fighting on the street after collision with each other. And social life is like this. Something happened in their life. After some days, some months and some years, they became best friends of each other. As they became best friends of each other, one day both the best friends were sitting at a hilltop in a moonlit night. Because they are close to each other, they started sharing each other's feeling. First young man put the question to the second young man, "My dear friend, have you remembered how our relationship was originated?" The second young man told, "Yes, how can I forget? How can I forget how it was originated? Because I have remembered the fact that our relationship was originated out of street fighting." Yeah, please sit. Our relationship was originated out of street fighting. Then first young man put the question, "My dear friend, if you don't mind, may I know the reason for what you were absent-minded that day while you were walking on the street?" And the young man replied, "Yes, you are very close to me, you are my best friend. I don't mind to tell you the exact thing that happened in my life. Actually, that day while I was moving in the street, I was very tensed. Tension, the root cause of tension is that actually me and my wife, we are not having good terms with each other, and both of us have applied for divorce in court of law, and the family court judge has fixed that date as a date of divorce, and divorce is not a good thing. Because I could not make adjustment with my wife, that's the reason I was going to divorce her. But anyhow, divorce is very painful. So thinking about the consequence of divorce, I was feeling very tensed. And that's the reason while I was moving in the street, I was moving with absent-minded. I could not notice the fact that you were coming from opposite side, and I dashed with you." Answer was given like this. Then this young man who answered the question put the same question to his friend, "My dear friend, okay, I was going to divorce my wife, that's the reason I was feeling tensed, but why that day you were moving in the street without looking at the street?" The other friend replied, "My dear friend, that day I was feeling extremely happy, excited, delighted, elevated." What is the cause of your feeling excited, elevated? And other friend replied, "I had applied for marriage in sub-registrar's court. Sub-register has fixed that day as the date of marriage." You know, people before marriage, they feel extremely happy and delighted. Same thing was happening with me. I was also feeling extremely happy. I was in my own world of imagination. That's the reason while I was moving in the street, without looking at the street, I was moving in the street. I could not notice the fact that you were coming from opposite direction. That's the reason I got collided. dashed with you. In this way, two friends explained in two different ways. Two friends explained in two different ways with each other. So, and I want to tell you the fact that to their utter irony, to their utter surprise, both the young men came to know the fact that the lady is the same to whom first young man was going to divorce and second young man was going to marry. My objective of telling you this story is not for the sake of telling you story, but for the purpose of making you understand what is the meaning of perspective for writing answer related to social issues of Indian society. You see, the first young man who was going to divorce the lady, what was his feeling? He was feeling, or he felt that she is the lady with whom I cannot live my life. But what was the feeling of the other young man? Other young man was thinking just in the reverse way. Other young man was thinking, she is the lady without whom I cannot live. So, first young man is thinking, she is the lady with whom I cannot live. Second young man was thinking, she is the lady without whom I cannot live. This is perspective. From which angle you look at an event, you look at a problem, you look at the phenomenon of society. This is called perspective. And before teaching you Indian society and different issues and challenges of Indian society, first I told you what is the importance of perspective, because same event of society can be viewed, can be analyzed from two different angles. Therefore, for the purpose of writing answer related to social issues of general study paper 1, you need to adopt at least two perspectives which are opposite to each other, the way I told you this story. Got my point clearly? So, right now come to today's topic of discussion. Today's topic of discussion is globalization. So, how globalization will be discussed with two different perspectives. As I told you the fact, globalization, I just broke it into two parts. First is globalize, second is ation. Globalize means to spread an element, an item, an event, and a technology, a commodity into different parts of the world, Globalization means process. So, globalization is a process of change. In fact, it is the recent process of change. Globalization. As it is a recent process of change, any process of change, it brings lots of opportunities for a country, and at the same time it brings lots of unwanted challenges for our country. Globalization is not an exception to it. So, globalization as the recent or latest process of change has brought many opportunities for our country, and at the same time it has also brought many unwanted challenges for our country. Getting my point? So, opportunity aspect is one perspective of globalization, highlighting the challenge aspect of globalization, that is another perspective related to globalization. Getting my point? So, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities that I would be discussing, but before making a detailed discussion about it, first I am citing an example just to show you two different dimensions of globalization, that is the opportunity dimension as well as the challenge dimension of globalization. You see, challenge dimension of globalization. You see, today you find, right now I am taking class here in Bhubaneswar, so just I am citing an example from Bhubaneswar. In Bhubaneswar, there are so many shopping malls. you want to suppose purchase some fruits. So, you entered into a shopping mall. Inside the shopping mall there is a fruit selling unit. You entered into that fruit selling unit. In the fruit selling units of the shopping mall, you observe the fact that different varieties of fruits have been arranged in the shelves of the fruit stall. Suppose you want to purchase apple, you would see in the shelves of the apple stall, different varieties of apples have been arranged. Some apples are imported from Switzerland, some are imported from UK, some are imported from USA, they are available. Even some apples are having very glowing, shining appearance. On the surface of the apple, fluorescent color stickers have been pasted just to attract your attention. You saw all these things. And at the same time, apples that is grown in Himachal Pradesh, apple grown in Kashmir, that is also there. But you notice the fact, the difference between the cost or between the price of imported apple and the indigenous apple. Indigenous apple means the apple that is grown in India, either in Himachal Pradesh or in Kashmir. It is not a huge gap. Cost is also not very high, imported apples. And in addition to that, you also noticed imported apples are having very glowing appearance. Fluorescent color stickers have been pasted on their surface. You felt attracted towards imported apple, you purchased it. I am telling you the fact, you are students. Even during your studentship days of 21st century India, you are having lots of opportunity. While it comes to the case of purchasing apple, you can purchase apples imported from foreign countries or apples that is grown in India. But during my studentship days, this type of scope was not available. Imported apples were not available in this area in Bhubaneswar, I am telling. So, for you, globalization has widened the scope, yes or no? Because you can purchase apples of Himachal Pradesh, you can purchase apples of Kashmir, you can also purchase apple of England, America, Switzerland. For you, globalization has widened the scope or widened your opportunity. But what is opportunity for you? That may also put the livelihood of some other people of our country at stake. How? For example, I want to tell you, if every prosperous buyers would prefer to purchase imported fruits from Switzerland, from America, from UK, what will happen to the livelihood of the people in India, those who are engaged in producing apple in Himachal Pradesh, growing apple in Himachal Pradesh or Kashmir? Getting my point? Their livelihood would be at stake. So, what is opportunity for you, that may also pose a threat to the livelihood of people of Himachal Pradesh and Kashmir, those who are growing indigenous apple. So, in the same action of purchasing fruits, we see there is a challenging perspective, there is also an opportunity perspective. All of you are clear? Take another example. Another example is, India is an agriculture dominated society. 365 days in a year, farmers of this country do not get engagement. Agriculture has a season that is called peak season, and there is also another season that is called lean season. During lean season, works are not available in the hands of the farmers of the country. So, during the lean season, farmers of India, they get engaged in making fishing nets. You know fishing nets? The net that is used for the purpose of throwing in the ponds, in the river and catching the fish. So, during the lean season of agriculture, our farmers are engaged in manufacturing fishing nets. And they also put a more number of hours in the process of manufacturing and completing the net, and some they go to the market, sell it in the market. Okay. But in today's era of globalization, technology has been substantially developed. For example, I am telling you, very good quality nets, fishing nets are available in Indian market, which are manufactured in advanced factories of Korea. You know, people of Korea, they have expertise in the matter of manufacturing fishing nets, and they use advanced technology for the purpose of manufacturing fishing nets. These fishing nets with better quality is available in Indian market because because the restriction which was earlier imposed in matter of importing the items to our country has been removed in the era of globalization. So imported fishing nets from Korea, that is also available in Indian market, and at the same time indigenously manufactured fishing nets is also available in Indian market. But Korean nets, fishing nets, they are having better quality, and as they are manufactured in large number, cost of production is also less. That's the reason if a fisherman wants to purchase a fishing nets, he would go to market, he would prefer to purchase fishing nets imported from Korea. From fisherman's point of view, globalization has widened his scope, widened his opportunity in matter of making a decision whether to go for purchasing Indian fishing nets or for Korean fishing nets. But as Indian nets are manufactured by putting more number of working hours on part of the farmers sitting idle during the lean agricultural seasons, its cost is higher. Obviously, the fishermen would not go for Indian nets, they would go for Korean nets. So from fisherman's point of view, globalization has lots of opportunity because of globalization. Obviously, the possibility of purchasing better quality nets with lesser price has emerged. But if every fisherman would go for purchasing nets manufactured by using advanced technology of Korea, what would happen to the Indian farmers, those who are also engaged in net manufacturing activities during the lean agricultural season? So in this way, from fisherman's point of view, globalization has a lots of opportunity, but from farmers' point of view, those who are engaged in manufacturing nets, globalization has lots of challenges. Got it? Take another example. Another example I can cite related to manufacturing or making gums or glues. You know, in Bihar, some elderly women, they are having expertise in manufacturing gums or glues, because there is a plant called juicifera. From the lactate of the plant juicifera, gum or glue is manufactured. While gum and glue is manufactured from the lactate of juicifera, elderly women, they move from plant to plant in jungle, they collect the lactate of juicifera plant in a bottle or in a container, they bring it to home, and subsequently they manufacture it as gum. These women they do all these things manually. That's the reason they give more number of time, more number of hours in matter of manufacturing gums, and finally while gum is prepared, they sell it in market. But in today's era of globalization, gums which are manufactured in Sudan by using advanced technology, that is also available in Indian market. As advanced technology is used in Sudan in matter of manufacturing gums, its cost of production is less. But these elderly women of Bihar, those who are manufacturing it manually, they are putting more number of hours in manufacturing it. Obviously, its cost, and that too they use very traditional technology, its cost is higher in market. So suppose you wanted to purchase gum, you would go to the market, you would notice the fact that in market two quality of gums are available. Gums from Sudan is available, quality is better, price is lesser. Gums that is manufactured in India, indigenous gums available, its price is higher. Will you purchase Indian gums? No, not at all. Rather you would purchase Sudanese gum. So from your point of view, globalization has widened opportunity. But if every Indian student would go for purchasing the gums manufactured in Sudan, what would happen to the livelihood of the elderly women of Bihar, those who are also engaged traditionally in gum making activities? So, for you globalization has opportunity, but at the same time from the point of view of the elderly women of Bihar, globalization has created lots of challenges. So, in this way, whenever you are discussing a topic of social issue related to Indian society, you have to take into account, you have to take into consideration both the perspective, the opportunity perspective as well as the challenge perspective related to globalization. All of you are clear. So, before starting the topic in a formal way related to globalization, first I showed you how to in two different ways the same topic can be discussed. Okay. So, right now come to globalization and how the process was originated. As I told you the fact that globalization is the very recent process of change. Globalization is the very recent process of change. So, this process has also some connection with other processes of change. So, in this class I would be making a clear cut distinction between different processes of change. Certain doubts might be coming to your mind related to different processes of change like modernization, like westernization, like globalization, industrialization, urbanization. So, in today's class I will make a clear cut distinction between different processes of change, and finally I will discuss globalization and its challenges and opportunities for Indian society. You see, before making any discussion related to globalization, first you think about modernity in Europe. I want to tell you the fact that first in 17th and 18th century, 17th and 18th centuries, these are called centuries of transformation in Europe. So, in 17th and 18th century, Enlightenment movement was organized there in Europe. Because of Enlightenment movement, first modernity emerged in Europe, and the process by which modernity emerged in Europe, that process is called modernization of European society. I want to tell you the fact that the latest process of change is globalization. It has its root there in another process that is called modernization of Europe. What is modernization of Europe? I told you European society experienced modernization in 17th and 18th century. What is that modernization? Modernization, root word is modernity. Root word is modernity. So, make a derivation, modernization, make a derivation, modernize plus ation. Modernize plus ation, that is called modernization. Modernize means to spread. Modernize means to spread. Modernize means to spread the to spread the attribute of modernity, to spread the attribute of modernity. Modernization, make a derivation, modernize plus ation. Modernize means to spread the attribute of modernity. Ation means process. Therefore, modernization is the process by which modernity spread in different parts of Europe. Modernization is a process by which modernity spread into different parts of Europe. Modernity spread into different parts of Europe. Okay? Listen. So, what is that modernity? Modernity means explaining the things in terms of logic, in terms of cause and effect relationship. Modernity tries to explain every event in terms of cause and effect relationship. modernity tries to explain every event, every phenomenon in terms of cause and effect relationship. Listen, what happened? Once upon a time in Europe, people were having very conservative thought. They were thinking that at the center of the universe is the earth, that is called geocentric universe. But in 17th and 18th century, what happened? Obviously, things started changing in Europe. European people started thinking everything in terms of cause and effect relationship, in terms of logic and rationality. So, in the process of modernization, logical explanation of every event was demanded. So, the process through which social life of Europe was explained in terms of logic and rationality, in terms of cause and effect relationship, that process is called modernization. Got it? So, in 17th and 18th century, European society experienced modernization. Due to modernization of Europe, what happened? You might have studied in history. Industrial revolution became successful. In Europe, French revolution was also organized. So, first modernity emerged in Europe, and the process by which it emerged, that process is called modernization. Because of modernization, right now industrial revolution took place in Europe, and you know Britain was the leader of industrial revolution. So, in different parts of Europe, industries were established, and the process by which industries were established in different parts of Europe, that process is called industrialization. So, modernization and subsequent process of change is industrialization. So, industrial revolution and industrialization first took place there in England, subsequently in other parts of Europe, and you know European people like Britain, European people like British, French, Spanish people, they were also having their colonies in different parts of the world. And the process by which colonies were established by European power, that colonies process is called colonialization. So, first modernization took place in Europe. Modernization contributed towards industrialization, and industrialization refers to the process of establishment of industry in different parts of Europe. And due to industrialization, Asia and Africa, that also explain Asia and Africa, they experienced colonialization. Got it? So, you see these processes are interrelated processes. First Europe experienced modernity, and the process is called modernization. Modernization contributed towards industrialization of Europe. Industrialization of Europe also contributed towards colonialization of Asia, Africa and others. Clear? Got my point? So, right now we reached the stage, at the stage that is colonialization. So, obviously just think about India. In India, Britishers were having their colony, Portuguese people were also having their colony. So, right now Spanish people were having their colony. So, in the process of colonialization of India, India also experienced trade war. Trade war. What is trade war? Different European powers, they wanted to possess as much colony, they wanted to capture as much area of Indian society as possible, and they wanted to sell their manufactured goods in our country. So, there was competition between Spanish people, Portuguese people, English people, and in this trade war obviously Britishers emerged successful because Britishers captured the majority territory of our country. Got it? So, because of colonialization, India experienced trade war. And right now, Britishers were having their colonies in 3 port towns of India, that is Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. So, in the streets of Bombay, Calcutta and Madras, the finished goods of British factories were sold out. Getting my point? They were sold out. And while Britishers got settled in different port towns of India, and with the passage of time they also became the rulers of our country, because first they came under the guise of the traders, but subsequently taking advantage of weakness of the people of our country, they also converted themselves from traders to the rulers of this nation. Right now, impact of Britain was also felt in life of the people of our country. For example, I want to tell you, our people started wearing the British dress, they started eating British food, they started adopting British dance and music. Okay, and some people of our country, they also started taking alcohol. Okay, so alcohol is prohibited in Indian tradition. So in this way, in port towns of Bombay, Calcutta, Madras, people's life got immensely influenced by Western values, and the process is called Westernization. What is Westernization? Westernize plus ation, that is called Westernization. Westernize means to spread the attributes of Western countries, particularly Britain here. Westernize plus ation. Westernize means to acquire the attributes of Western countries. Indian people started wearing British dress, Western dress, they started eating Western food, they started speaking English. Okay, they started eating in dining table culture was not there in India. Because of impact of Britain, people in port towns of Bombay, Calcutta, Madras, they also started eating at dining table. So in this way, the lifestyle of the people of Indian society got immensely influenced by Western cultural values, and the process is called Westernization. In this way, I told you colonialization of Asia and Africa eventually contributed towards Westernization of India and Westernization of Asia. Okay. So you see, during British regime, Britishers introduced penny postage system, Britishers introduced railway system, Britishers introduced even telegraph system, Britishers started establishing schools, colleges and universities in the country. Foundation of modern Indian education was also laid during the British regime. In addition to that, universal legal system, law courts were also established, and you know, in court of law, particularly the lawyers started wearing black colored robes. You see, what is the need of wearing black colored robes? India is a hot climatic country, warm climatic country, while the mercury is reaching at 50 degrees centigrade during hot summer. At that point of time also you would observe the fact that some lawyer, all lawyers, may it be subordinate court or it may be the Supreme Court of India, they are wearing but black colored dress. You know, black will absorb more sunlight, radiate less. Europe and in general and Britain in particular is a cold climatic country. There the lawyers are wearing black colored dress, keeping in mind that they would basically absorb, their dress would absorb more sunlight and that will retain the bodily temperature, they would feel comfort and convenience. But what happened here in India? What our lawyers are doing? During hot summer, while mercury is reaching at 50 degrees centigrade, they are also wearing black color robes. Do they feel comfortable? Convenience? Probably not. This happened because of impact of Britain. Okay. This is Westernization. And there is a critics of Westernization who says this is not Westernization. This is Westoxication of Indian society. Westoxication. What is Westoxication? Oxycation means drinking alcohol. Indian people are taking to Western values just like chronic drunkard are taking to alcohol. So he says it's not a process of Westernization, rather it is a process of Westoxication. Getting my point? So forget about critical aspect. You got what Westernization is all about. So Westernization refers to the process of social change introduced in India during the British regime, by which Indian social life was highly influenced by Western cultural values. It has both positive and negative impact upon our society, Westernization. Getting my point? So in this way, Westernization process also is here. Then you see, along with westernization, I am discussing another process of change that is called modernization. Modernization of Indian society, right? Modernization of Indian society. Modernization of Indian society. Same thing, modernization of Europe I discussed. So, what is modernization? Modernize plus ation, that is called modernization. Modernize means to spread the attribute of modernity. What are the attributes of modernity? Critical consciousness, vertical mobility, critical consciousness, vertical mobility, explaining social life in terms of cause and effect relationship, that is logic. These are the attributes of modernity. So, you see, the moment our country experienced westernization, along with westernization, our country also experienced modernization. How? Just you think. During the British regime, caste system was persisting in our country, child marriage was persisting, even widow remarriage was banned, untouchability was persisting, sati system was persisting. You know what sati system is all about. India is a patriarchal society. Patriarchal means male dominated society. So, in traditional India, when husband of a woman was dying, after the death of the husband, the woman was told to jump herself into the funeral pyres of the dead husband, and this is called sati system. So, in many cases, I am telling you, literally after the death of the husband, women were literally thrown into the funeral pyres of the dead husband. This is a very inhuman system. It is a crime actually. In our eyes, it is a crime. So, once upon a time, this sati system was persisting in our country. Raja Rammohan Rai raised his dissenting voice against sati system. Raja Rammohan Rai applied critical consciousness. I am telling you, modernization and modernity has a connection with critical consciousness. Raja Rammohan Rai adopted critical consciousness in his mind. He asked a question, okay, out of two persons, husband and wife, husband may die first or wife may die first. If the husband is dying first, the wife is told to jump into the funeral pyres of the dead husband. If the wife dies first, why not the husband jump into the funeral pyres of the dead wife? This is critical consciousness. So, while India was experiencing westernization, Raja Rammohan Rai got influenced by western modern values, characterized by critical consciousness. He put a question, why after death of the husband, why after the death of the wife, husband will not jump into the funeral pyres of the dead husband? So, modernity is there in the mind of Raja Rammohan Rai. You see, untouchability and caste system was there during British regime and long ago also in this country, untouchability. But under fourfold division of Indian society, there is a view related to origin of caste system. In scriptures of Hinduism, it has been said, it has been told that Brahmins came from the mouth of Brahma, Kshatriyas came from arms of Brahma, Vaishyas came from thighs of Brahma, and Shudras came from the feet of the Brahma. Mouth position is topmost position in society. As Brahmins came from the mouth of the Brahma, their position is topmost position. Shudras came from the feet of the Brahma, feet position is lowest position. So, in Indian society, Shudras position is lowest position. Getting my point? So, during British regime, critical consciousness was also developed in mind of the people of India. People having critical consciousness in terms of modernity, they challenged caste system. They promoted the idea that man is not the product of asexual reproduction. For example, you cut the branch of a mango tree, plant it, a new tree would emerge out of it. But human being is not like that. So, how from feet of Brahma would come Dalit and Dalit or Shudra, and how from mouth of Brahma would come Brahmin. So while during British regime, critical consciousness was spreading into nooks and corners of our country. As a result of it, modernization also developed, and in the process of modernization, all the conservative superstitious practices persisting in our society, they were challenged. So during British regime, while India was experiencing westernization, at that point of time, challenge was given to caste system, challenge was given to sati system, challenge was given to Devdasi system, challenge was given to child marriage. So in this way, modern thoughts started spreading into the minds of Indian society in the process of westernization of Indian society. So in this way, along with westernization of India, India also experienced modernization. Got it? But there is a difference also between modernization and westernization. What is the difference? You see, this is 1947, August 15. India attained independence. We attained independence. Henceforward, we became the makers of our own destiny. We started drafting the constitution of our country. British ruling got ended there. So British ruling was there in India till 1947. After 1947, British ruling ended, and at the verge of attainment of independence, westernization was also halted. Westernization came to halt after attainment of independence, but modernization process also continued. How? Because you know, Constitution of India was written by synthesizing desirable features of many constitutions of different parts of the world. So we brought modern ideas from South Africa, modern ideas from Japan, modern ideas from Germany, modern ideas from America, modern ideas also from England, and we synthesized all these things. Getting my point? So in this way, in the process of making the Constitution of India or writing the Constitution of India, modernization process was continuing, while westernization process was ended. So westernization was there in India till 1947. After that, India is experiencing modernization, and the degree of westernization started reducing in India. And I am telling you, in the process of westernization also, modernization was continuing in our society. All of you got my point? So in this way, I explained that westernization of Asia contributed towards modernization of Asia, and today also we are experiencing modernization. Today also, that is today is 2024. At this point of at this point of time, we are experiencing also modernization. But the process of modernization that we are experiencing today, that is given a new name, that is called globalization. So when globalization was originated in Indian society, I am telling you the fact that UNO was formed, United Nations Organization was formed in 1945. UNO was formed. After formation of UNO, the world experienced a process that is called bipolarization or Cold War. You know Cold War? Obviously, ideologically, after formation of UNO, ideologically the world experienced a fight that is called Cold War. You know, cold and war always generates heat. So what is Cold War? Cold War means it is not a war at all. It is an ideological war. It is an ideological war. Cold War means ideological war. After the formation of UNO, on the basis of economic principle, two types of ideas became dominant in the world. One is called socialist economy, another is called capitalist economy. Capitalism gives emphasis upon private property, socialism gives emphasis upon collective property. Example of socialism is former USSR, Soviet Russia. Example of capitalism is USA. So whether private property would be there or private property would be ended. Based on this ideology, obviously world got divided into two different watertight compartments. Soviet Russia, USSR, it was a communist country and it promoted socialism or socialist economy. The USA was a democratic country and it also promoted socialist economy. Socialist economy does not allow private property. On the other hand, capitalist economy allows private property. So in this way, who would become the leader of the world? There was a competition between Russia, the former USSR, and America. This is called bipolarization and this is also called your Cold War. You see, poor people, they love communism. You know it or not? Poor people, they love communism. Rich people don't love communism. Why? Because communism promotes equality or egalitarianism. Communism promotes the idea that there would be no private property. Property would belong to the whole country or whole world. Getting my point? Communism promotes socialist economy. It does not accept private property. You know, rich people, they are having lots of private property. If communism is brought, their private property will be taken away. Poor people may not be having any property. So poor people, they love communism. They are the lovers of communism because people, those who don't have any property, they don't have any possibility of losing their property. People, those who have a property, there is a possibility that they may lose their property. So rich people, they don't like communism because there is a possibility that their property may be taken away because communism does not allow private property. But poor people, they don't have a property, they don't have any possibility of losing their property. That's the reason they love communism like anything. So while the whole world was experiencing Cold War or bipolarization, the developed countries of Europe, they accepted America as their leader. Means they accepted democratic government and capitalist economy. On the other hand, East European countries, they are not so much developed like West European countries. East European countries, certain countries of Asia and certain countries of Africa, they accepted the leadership of former USSR, Soviet Russia. Because they are poor, I told you there is an emotional connection between poverty and communism, and there is an emotional connection between prosperity and capitalism. In this way, developed countries of West Europe, America, they promoted a democracy and their economy is capitalist economy. On the other hand, poor countries of Asia, Africa and East Europe, they accepted the leadership of America, that is the capitalist economy and a democratic form of government. In this way, the whole world got divided into two compartments. One is the compartment of capitalism, another is the compartment of socialism. The process is called bipolarization of the world. Bipolarization in the world continued till 1990. Bipolarization continued till 1990. Bipolarization continued till 1990. But in 1990, a drastic change took place in global relationship. What happened in 1990? In 1990, the former USSR, that is Soviet Russia, got collapsed. In 1990, the former Soviet Russia got collapsed. Soviet Russia was the symbol and substance of communist country and socialist economy. So in 1990s, the moment Soviet Russia got collapsed, the citadel of communism was lost, the fort of socialist economy was dismantled. So, obviously, there were two superpowers till 1990, Soviet Russia and America. They were trying to influence the world, but in 1990, the moment Soviet Russia collapsed, world right now experienced single superpower, that is the USA, promoting democratic government and capitalist economy. So, right now world experienced unipolarization, earlier that was bipolarization. In 1990, world experienced unipolarization. Okay? So, right now the USA started influencing the different parts of the world. The USA started influencing the different parts of the world. Okay? You see, this is the beginning of globalization. So, globalization came into existence in 1991, the moment bipolarization was ended and the influence of America was felt in different parts of the world. Getting? You can say it is Americanization, the process by which influence of America was felt in different parts of the world. That process is called Americanization. You can also say, but the thing is that it is not right to say it is Americanization, it is right to say the term globalization. Why? No doubt America is influencing different parts of the world at present. But in the process of, if we say it is Americanization, it would become one way process, means only the influence of America would be felt in every parts of the world, and the influence of other countries and other culture will not be felt in other parts of the world. So, critics of globalization I will discuss later. They say that globalization is mainly Americanization, if not solely Americanization. Are you getting the difference? Mainly and solely. Mainly means to greater extent, solely means completely. So, critics of globalization say globalization is nothing except mainly global Americanization. How? Just in lighter vein I am saying, critics of globalization say in the process of globalization what is happening, starting from Mickey Mouse to Big Mac, all are associated with American society. Starting from Mickey Mouse to Big Mac, everything is product of of American society, and in the process of globalization they are spreading into different parts of the world. For example, you want to go to Uganda, you went to Uganda. In Uganda also you can find McDonald's restaurant is there. In Uganda you would find KFC is there. And in Uganda also children are watching that Mickey Mouse game. Getting my point? Mickey Mouse. So, critics of globalization, they say in the process of globalization American culture is spreading to different parts of the world, but in a neutral sense I can tell you the fact that globalization means American society and American culture is influencing different parts of the world, and culture of different parts of the world is also influencing American and other societies. Getting my point? So, in this way you see, after 1991 modernization process continued, but it was given a new name that is called globalization. Getting my point? So, starting from modernity of Europe till globalization, everywhere the influence of modernity is felt, but in different stages different names are given to it. Why? For example, you see, one day an infant is born. Unless and until it reaches 1 year of age, it completes 1 year of age, it is called infant. While it crosses 1 year of age, the person is called child. Childhood stage continues till 6 years. Then while 6 years is over and the person reaches at 12 and 13, stage of the life of the person is called adolescent. Then one day he reaches at 18 or 21, 18 he is called adult. Then while he reaches at 25, we say he is young man. While he reaches at 50, we say that okay, he is matured, then while he reaches at 60, he is called old man. Getting my point? Person is same, but in different ages or different stages, different name is given to the person related to the state of life. But person is not different. Exactly, whether it is the process of modernization of Europe or it is globalization of the world, everywhere modernity is getting spread into different parts of the society. But at one point of time it is called modernization, at another point of time it is called globalization. This is the interconnectivity of different processes of change that the whole world has experienced, including India. So, all of you are clear? All of you are clear regarding different processes of change? So, finally, I am just telling you, repeating it again, 17th and 18th century Enlightenment movement took place in Europe. This is the beginning of modernity in Europe, and modernity contributed towards modernization of Europe. Modernization of Europe contributed towards industrialization of Europe. And you know, here also I forgot to write another thing. While industries are established, number of towns and cities also surrounding the industry grows. So, industrialization and urbanization, they also move in the same track. So, industrialization and urbanization of Europe also took place. It eventually contributed towards colonialization of Asia and Africa. Colonialization contributed towards westernization of Asia and Africa. Westernization contributed towards modernization. Modernization contributed towards globalization. This is the interconnectivity between different processes of change. So, right now come to the topic, real topic of discussion, that is effect of globalization on Indian society. 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 I would discuss effect of globalization upon different areas of Indian society. First of all, I would discuss the effect of globalization on agricultural sector of India. I would discuss effect of globalization upon agriculture, upon industry, upon tertiary sector or service sector, upon status of women, upon scheduled caste, upon scheduled tribe, upon environment, okay, upon even culture, upon minorities, okay, different, upon technology. Every area will be discussed in detail, but first I am discussing effect of globalization upon Indian agriculture. And particularly in your social issues, questions should be asked with respect to impact of globalization upon different sectors of Indian society. Okay. And I told you globalization is a common topic of your GS paper 1, then is your English essay, then is yours but viva voce. In addition to that, globalization is also a topic of your sociology optional. So, first you come to effect of globalization upon Indian agriculture. So, at the outset, I want to tell you the fact that globalization has a positive impact upon Indian agriculture, and at the same time, globalization has negative impact or negative consequences negative consequences upon Indian agriculture. This is perspective in which angle you look at the globalization, whether you want to highlight the positive impact or negative impact. So, there is a group of people, those who highlight the positive impact of globalization upon every area of Indian society. These groups of people who highlight the positive consequences of globalization upon different areas of Indian society, this group of people are called the supporter of globalization or the protagonist of globalization. Write it down, protagonist of globalization. Supporter of globalization or protagonist of globalization. Supporter or protagonist of globalization. Why they are called protagonist? Because they are highlighting the positive consequence of globalization. Just I want to tell you, I want to bring you back to the story related to the views of two different young men with respect to the common lady. One young man was thinking, she is the lady I cannot live with. At the same time, another young man was thinking, she is the lady without whom I cannot live. So one thinks, with him, with her I cannot live. Another young man thinks, without her I cannot live. Exactly in that way you try to analyze impact of globalization upon different sectors of Indian society. Okay. So protagonist would highlight the positive consequence of globalization upon Indian agriculture. And there is another group of people who highlight the negative consequences of globalization upon Indian agriculture and also other areas. They are called opponent of globalization or antagonist of globalization. Antagonist of globalization. So protagonist of globalization and antagonist of globalization. Globalization has both positive as well as negative consequences upon Indian society. So come to protagonist view on agriculture. Already I have written. You see what the protagonists are highlighting or saying in context of impact of globalization upon Indian agriculture. You know, Indian society is an agriculture dominated society, though the contribution of agriculture to our GDP is not very high, but the majority of people in our country, they are also associated with agriculture. Before the advent of globalization, farmers were growing their crops, but before globalization, institutional credit facility was not available to the farmers. Self-help group among the agriculturists were not available before the globalization. So protagonists are of the opinion that in the era of globalization, institutional credit facilities available to the farmers. Farmers are also forming their farming cooperative society, farming credit society. Getting my point? Tradition ridden days. Whenever farmer needed money for agricultural activities, he went to the house of the sahukar or money lender and brought money from him at a high rate of interest. As per Agriculture Commission's report, the rate of interest was so high that if the money lender was a kind-hearted person, he was charging 60% per annum rate of interest. And if he was unkind, he was charging 300% per rate of interest per annum. That means if somebody brought a loan of 10,000 rupees from a kind-hearted you can say money lender, at the end of the year he has to pay 10,000 as a principal and 60% of it as interest, that is 6,000. So at the end of the year he has to pay back 10,000 plus 6,000, that is 16,000, provided money lender is a kind-hearted person. But if a money lender is unkind by nature, then rate of interest would be 300%. 300% means 10,000 is principal and 300% of it means 30,000 is interest. 10,000 plus 30,000, in this way 40,000 was the total amount he needed to pay back to the money lender at the end of the year. Getting my point? But today we are living in the era of globalization. Agricultural loans are given by the banks. Many multinational companies, they have also entered into Indian market, in agricultural market. They are basically making contract with the farmers. They are telling the farmers, encouraging the farmers, you grow certain crops in your field, would give you loan, would make the provision of giving you agricultural loan at a very nominal rate of interest. So once upon a time, farmers were taking loan from the money lender at a high rate of interest, but because of globalization, right now government sector banks are giving loan to farmers at a nominal rate of interest. Multinational companies, those who have entered into agricultural activities, they are also making the provision of agricultural loan for the farmers at a nominal rate of interest. Are not the farmers getting benefit out of it? They are getting. In addition to that, I am telling you, contract farming is a new concept. Contract farming. What is that contract farming? I am telling you, many multinational companies have entered into agricultural activities in India. For example, you might be eating Lay's, Kurkure, Lay's you might be eating. So you see, there is a company, multinational company, PepsiCo. PepsiCo is encouraging Indian farmers to grow potato, because for manufacturing, but Lay's, potato is the main ingredient. I am telling you, in traditional India, what was happening, if a farmer needed any loan, institutional credit facility means bank were not giving loan. They were going to the house of the moneylender and bringing loan at a high rate of interest. And you know, technology was not developed, so much developed in pre-globalized era. For example, mobile phone with internet facility, that was not available before 1990. Okay, particularly after 2013-14, this social media technology has become very advanced technology. It was not available in pre-globalized era. So in this case, what was happening? Farmer needed loan for agricultural activities. He went to the house of the moneylender, brought loan at a high rate of interest. He started growing the things, starting from sowing the seeds till harvesting the crop. This period, gap between sowing the seed and harvesting the crop, this period is called gestation period. During gestation period, farmer needed money both for agricultural activities as well as for domestic activities, and only one source of loan available for the farmer in pre-globalized era, that is basically money lender. No institutional credit facility was available. There was no contract farming. But right now, many multinational companies have entered into these activities, agricultural activities. In addition to that, when crops is harvested, at the time of harvesting, the price of crop is not very high. Many unethical traders, they were creating a panic feeling among the farmers that, okay, suppose farmers were growing potato. During the harvesting period of potato, you know, the price of potato comes down. During the harvesting period of tomato, price comes down. During the harvesting period of onion, the price is very less. Unethical traders, because social media technology was not available at that point of time, they were reaching near the agricultural field. They were telling the farmers that this year substantial amount of potato has been grown in every part of India. So right now the price is this much, but after 15 days again it would fall down. While this type of things were told by the unethical traders, farmers not having any accessibility to social media, they were developing a feeling that is called panic feeling. So being panic stricken, they were selling their product to the unethical traders at a very low rate. So they took loan from moneylender at a high rate of interest. They sold their product at a low rate. Then who was the beneficiary out of agricultural activities? Benefit went to the hand of the moneylender, benefit went to the hand of the unethical traders. Farmer simply put his sweat and brows in agricultural activities, but at the end of the day, he could not get anything. Getting my point? But right now, as contract farming is encouraged, PepsiCo has entered into contract farming. PepsiCo is making contract with the farmers. You grow potato. Before the seeds are sown, I can assure you that I would purchase potato from your field at this much price, suppose 15 rupees per kg. If you get also a better buyer, you sell your product to him. But if nobody is ready to take potato from you, I am making a contract to purchase potato from your field at 15 rupees per kg. In this way, farmers' level of confidence has been increased. There is no scope of resorting to distress selling mechanism, because unethical traders before globalization, they were creating a panic feeling among the farmers. This year, substantial amount of potato has been grown, so price of potato will fall down. Sell it right now, or else after 1 month you would be forced to sell it at lower price. So in this way, there is positive impact of globalization upon agricultural activities, because first of all, in era of globalization, contract farming has created scope for farmers for getting proper benefit out of agricultural activities. In addition to that also, what is happening, institutional credit facility is also available. In addition to that, I am telling you, government has also fixed MSP, minimum support price, for certain crops. Okay, even for certain crops, assured price is there. So all these provisions in era of globalization has created a scope for farmers to get benefit of his farming activities. This is the positive impact of globalization. Getting my point? But this is just one side of the coin. There is also another, just like a coin has two sides. Impact of globalization has also two sides. I showed you the opportunity aspect of globalization in Indian agriculture. That also I have mentioned here. Contract farming, MNCs encourage growing of particular product. They also declare the assured price before sowing seeds. This is the positive things. Even distress selling has been, scope of distress selling has been minimized. But at the same time, globalization has also the negative consequences upon Indian agriculture. Negative consequences upon Indian agriculture. This is the antagonist view. What is that you see? Actually, in today's class, I would not, won't be able to complete everything. In next class, I would discuss the rest of the things, but only today I would be discussing the negative impact of globalization upon Indian agriculture. You see, in era of globalization, these are the negative consequences of globalization upon Indian agriculture. You just look at the slide. I would be explaining you, point by point. You can also take snap of this slide also. Listen, what is happening? You see, first of all, I want to tell you the fact. In era of globalization, India is experiencing insecurity of food grain. What is insecurity of food grain and how India is experiencing it, I would be explaining you. You see, you might have read about green revolution. What is green revolution? Green refers to green field of India, that is agricultural field. Revolution means sudden change. The sudden change experienced with respect to the productivity of agricultural land of India is called green revolution. Actually, green revolution was put into action in late 1960s. Once upon a time, India was experiencing acute shortage of food grain, and our government imported food grain from foreign countries. I told you the fact that after attainment of independence, the time or the point at which we attained independence, at that point of time the whole world was experiencing bipolarization, but India preferred to adopt a middle path. Neither we joined in the line America was moving, that is capitalist economy, nor also we supported the point of view of Soviet Russia economy, that is communist socialist economy. We adopted a middle path approach. So India's economy is called a mixed economy. Synthesizing capitalism with socialism, we struck a balanced approach, that is called mixed economy. And India's economy is also called democratic socialism. Okay. So we neither supported Russia 100% nor did we support America 100%. Okay. And we tried to become closer to everybody. Okay. We adopted neutrality path. At the same time, we tried to become closer to everybody. So what happened? the moment we were not having food grain sufficiency, we imported food grain from America under a scheme that is called PL 480. America also tried to take advantage of the situation. America also tried to play with us because America was internally unhappy with us because we did not accept America as the standard frame of reference. Okay. So, as we were having insufficiency in food grain production, so obviously under a scheme that is called PL 480, we imported food grain from America. America also started playing with us. At that point of time, I want to tell you the fact that there was the Prime Minister, Mr. Lal Bahadur Shastri. Lal Bahadur Shastri encouraged the agriculturist of our country and the agricultural scientist of our country how the food grain insufficiency would be overcome. So, Shastriji addressed the agricultural scientists to devise certain new devices. By applying these devices, the productivity of agricultural land would be enhanced. I am telling you the fact that our agricultural scientists invented mechanism like high yielding varieties of seed, chemical fertilizer, different means of irrigation, and all these things were put into experimental basis. And what happened within 3-4 years, while India resorted to high yielding varieties of seed, chemical fertilizer and different mechanism of irrigation, all of a sudden the productivity of agricultural land of our country started growing, and right now we started growing crops beyond the consumption need. We started growing agricultural crops beyond the agriculture, but the consumption need of the people of our country, means we grew surplus crops. So, once upon a time we are having deficiency in food grain production, right now we became surplus in food grain production. So, right now while we started growing surplus agricultural crops, surplus food grain crops, we started exporting food grain from our country to foreign countries. This change took place in a very small period of time, 4 to 5 years, and change that took place in a very short spell of time suddenly and significantly is called revolution. So, this is called green revolution. So, green revolution converted the food insecurity of India into food security of India, and green revolution transformed India from food importing country to food grain exporting country. All these things took place during 1960s, late 60s. But I am telling you, during 2001, 2 and 3, at that point of time it was noticed that again India was experiencing food grain insufficiency, food grain production of our country got severely affected. What went wrong? Critics say, means antagonists say, there was certain fault in the process of globalization itself, in the process of contract farming itself. As I told you the fact that, particularly many multinational companies like PepsiCo and others, they entered into agricultural activities, they encouraged the farmers of our country to grow certain crops which is used as an ingredient in cosmetic item manufacturing. So, as they promoted those crops to be grown in our country, farmers of our country did not give priority upon growing, but food grain crops like wheat, like cereals and others. So, many of our agricultural land got converted from growing food grain crop into non-food grain crops which are utilized as a raw material for manufacturing cosmetic items. That is the reason after during 2003-4 again India experienced food grain production crisis. So, critics said it. In addition to that, I am telling you, India's position in the world is not very dominant today also, because we are not at par with Australia, with America, with Britain and others. During globalization period, India needed money for expanding its, for growing or consolidating its infrastructure project. At that point of time, our national highway experienced bylining. For that purpose, we also needed money. So right now, we went to international organization like World Bank. We needed money for bylining national highway. World Bank promised to give us money in form of loan with a condition that structural adjustment policy will be adopted in our economy. What is structural adjustment policy? It has many features, certain important features I am telling here. First thing, phasing out subsidy from agriculture. What is subsidy from agriculture? I am telling you, while farmers purchase fertilizer, certain subsidy is given to them by the government. While they purchase advanced tools and equipment like power tiller, tractor, thresher and other, subsidy is also given. But as we made a contract with the World Bank for loan, World Bank mounted pressure upon us to reduce subsidy from agricultural activities. You know, in World Bank, America is a majority stakeholder. Farmers of America are very prosperous farmers. American government is also giving them subsidy. Prosperous farmers of America are given subsidy by government of America. But while it comes to case of India, America mounted pressure upon World Bank that you make a term and condition with India that India would be given loan provided India will adopt structural adjustment in its economy. One important feature of structural adjustment means reducing the subsidy or phasing out the subsidy given to agriculturist, Getting my point? So, if subsidy is not given or if the amount of subsidy to agricultural activities gets reduced, what will be affected first? Our farmers will be affected first. Our farming sector, agricultural sector would be affected first. This is a problem. Second thing, next thing is that de-skilling of farmers. What is de-skilling of farmer? I am telling you, de means destroy. Destroying the skill of farmer is called de-skilling. You see, Indian farmers are skilled in growing the traditional crops. They are expert in that area because practice makes a man perfect. Farmers of Indian society were growing the traditional crops upon which they had experience and expertise. But in era of globalization, multinational companies are giving instruction to farmers, grow these crops regarding which you don't have any know-how, any idea. Getting my point? And I am telling you, Indian farmers were so much skilled that simply looking at the sky, once upon a time they were predicting whether it would be raining in a day or two. Touching the soil, they were able to predict whether the soil is having right moisture composition so that it is the right time to grow. So the seeds are, he has to wait for 1-2 days more. This type of expertise Indian farmers were having. But right now, in the era of globalization, Indian farmers are told to grow cut flowers. Indian farmers are told to grow Suryamukhi, sunflower. But they are not having expertise in these type of activities. They are depending upon multinational companies and their agents. Multinational companies and their agents, they are dictating the farmers. They are telling the farmers, this is the time for harvesting. This is the time for irrigation. So many things. So in this way, Indian farmers' own skill is not utilized in growing the modern crops that is grown in agricultural field because they are expertise in that area. In this way, their traditional expertise and skill is destroyed and the process is called de-skilling. So Indian farmers are experiencing de-skilling. Getting my point? In addition to that, I can say you that Indian agriculture is experiencing feminization. What is feminization? Just make a derivation, feminize plus ation. Indian agriculture is experiencing feminization. Feminize plus ation is called feminization. Feminize means increasing the participation of women, increasing or enhancing the participation of women, increasing or enhancing the participation of women. S1 means process. S1 means process. So, what do we mean by feminization of agriculture? This question will be asked in social issues. It will be also asked in your interview. So, feminization of agriculture refers to a process of change. Feminization of agriculture refers to a process of change that Indian agriculture is experiencing, by which women's participation in agricultural activity is growing or increasing. I am repeating it again. Feminization refers to a process of change that Indian agriculture is experiencing in era of globalization, by which women's participation in agricultural activities is growing or increasing. Feminization of agriculture itself has positive as well as negative contribution, though I have put it under the negative consequences, but it has both positive and negative consequences. How? You see, I told you contract farming is there. In the process of contract farming, states like Haryana, like Punjab, like Andhra Pradesh, like Tamil Nadu, like Karnataka, like Kerala, they have become more successful. You know, agriculture has two seasons, lean season and peak season. Peak season means harvesting season. During harvesting season, the states in which contract farming has become successful, farmers of those states during peak season, they need more agricultural workers. So, there are many less developed states in our country like Odisha, like West Bengal, like Bihar, like Chhattisgarh, like Jharkhand. In these areas, contract farming has not become successful. So, during the peak agricultural season, farmers of these less developed states of India like Odisha, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, they think if they migrate to the agricultural field of Punjab, Haryana, western part of Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, they would get more wage. So, keeping in mind how they would get more agricultural wage during the peak agricultural season, they migrate to these states of our country. Seasonal migration India is experiencing, seasonal. They would work there only for 1 month, 2 months. But you know, people of those who are migrating from less developed states, they are also having small patches of agricultural land. Who would look after their agricultural land? If a husband is migrating there, it is the wife or it is the sister or it is the mother of that person who would look after the agricultural field. Is not women's participation growing in these areas in agricultural activities? Because in less developed states, during the peak agricultural season, farmers are migrating to more developed states, keeping in mind how to get more wage. But the agricultural land that they are having and the crop that they have grown, obviously the women communities of less developed states are looking after the agricultural activities of their own states. Getting my point? So, while migration is taking place, migration has two points. First is the source of migration, second is the destination of migration. Suppose farmer from Odisha or West Bengal migrated to agricultural field of Punjab. Here, Odisha or West Bengal is the source of migration, Punjab is the destination of migration. So, males from Odisha and West Bengal migrated to agricultural field of Punjab. Right now, women's participation in women's participation in agricultural activities of Odisha and West Bengal increased, yes or no? And in Punjab, all farmers are not prosperous. So, the middle farmers of Punjab, they started thinking, Punjab is the destination of migration, they started thinking, if their own women are engaged in harvesting activities, obviously money would be saved. So, in Punjab, women's, that is the destination, women's participation at the destination of migration increased, women's participation at the source of migration increased. In this way, In both the areas, women's participation started increasing, and the process is called feminization of agriculture. Got it? Meaning of feminization of agriculture. Feminization of agriculture has positive and negative consequences both. What is the positive consequences? The possibility of earning money, getting associated in productive activities, that is agriculture is a productive activities, has been grown on part of women. So women's earning capacity grew, it is positive. Then what is the negative consequences of feminization of agriculture? You see, male members of less developed states started thinking that we have to go to other areas and work there and get better wage. And our own women would be engaged in our own agricultural activities. Means they started thinking that women in their areas are the second rated workers, because males went to developed states engaged in contract farming, keeping in mind to get more wage, and women in the source of migration were told to participate in the agricultural activities which has been rejected by male members of their own state. So the work or activity which has been rejected by male, in those works and activities the females of less developed states are engaged in. Is not it giving a secondary status to the women workers? Are you getting my point? Got it? Got it? In addition to that, I am telling you the fact that in era of globalization, all over the world, the rate of farmer suicide has been substantially increased. In era of globalization, the rate of farmer suicide has been increased. Why farmer suicide has been increased? Today, time would not permit me to discuss. In the next class, I would discuss why rate of suicide of farmers all over the country has been increased. But farmers committing suicide itself reflects the negative consequences of globalization upon Indian agriculture. So in this way, in today's class, I just discussed the things. I first introduced the topic, that is globalization, and I also showed you two different perspectives for the purpose of explaining topics of social issues. In addition to that, I discussed only one area, that is both positive and negative impact of globalization upon Indian agriculture, but I could not make a detailed discussion related to why the farmer suicide in India in era of globalization has been increased. Okay. So let me bind up the class for today. Rest of the things I will be discussing in next class. Thank you.